Hi folks, Ryan here. Today I'm going to teach you the simplest way to get into home brewing. This is not the same method that I did when I started, which was about just over a year ago. But it is a very easy way and you can make some really good beer and it doesn't take a lot of time. Here's some of the things that you'll need. Some sort of fermenting vessel. This is a 6.5 US gallon bucket, fermenting bucket. All the goodies go into here. Some sort of lid to go on that fermenting vessel. This one has a grommet inside for an airlock. I should probably grab one of those. So you may need an airlock. Now, there are kits out there that come with everything included, especially from the company of the kit that we're doing today, where you don't really need an airlock because it was built and designed. The fermenting bucket was designed to let things out when they need to. But if you don't have that and you have access to these things like I do for my local homebrew shop, you'll need an airlock. Pretty much what the airlock does is you put some liquid here and it sits in the top of your fermenter and it lets out the CO2 without letting the other bad stuff in. Also, you'll need an actual kit. So this is the Cooper's Dark Ale kit. This is pre-hopped. This is liquid malt extract. It's like a real thick syrup. So this is what gets you pretty much most of your flavor, but it's not enough to get you to the full alcohol level that you want. A Cooper's kit is designed to provide 6 US gallons. I believe they're made with the idea of 5 imperial gallons, but you can do 6 US gallons. It even comes, when you take the lid off here, it comes with brewing yeast, which this is what eats up all the sugars to make alcohol, and instructions. Now what about that kilo part? Well, that's where, in this case, I have a brew enhancer. This is pretty much just dextrose, also known as corn sugar, and maltodextrin. This will bring the alcohol level up. Now I won't be doing full 6 gallons. I'll probably do around 5. This will bring my flavor and alcohol up as well, but I won't get as much beer. I may go somewhere a little bit in between the 5 and 6 mark, depending on temperatures and of the water once we get towards that point. Also need a can opener, of course. It's very important that you make sure this is clean, because if there's food and cruft on there, then bacteria can grow and you don't want to introduce that into your beer. Infections are something you really want to avoid. But it's also very important that you have some sort of sanitizing solution, whether it's a diluted bleach product, iodine. I use a product called Star Sand, which I always keep a mixture of. You take about an ounce of this stuff. It's a very acidic product, and you mix it with 5 gallons of water, and I always keep a bucket of that in my kitchen for all my homebrew stuff. If you use distilled water, it lasts almost forever, and I test it frequently to make sure it's still good. Alright, you also need some sort of way to measure out. We'll need to get 2 liters of water to start off with and boil that. I like this container. A lot of my homebrew that I do, I usually have to measure in gallons, but in this case I just need a 2-liter mark, and there's actually one on here. I just got this at the local Walmart. Also, you'll need a pan to be able to boil water in. I've seen some people use kettles. That works fine as well. So let's get started. Oh, actually there's one more thing. When making homebrew, you always have to make sure you're drinking a homebrew. Cheers. Let's get started. So the first thing that we'll need to do, since this stuff is very thick, is we'll need to let it soak in some hot water for about 10 minutes. Now, while it's soaking, it'll be a good time to get your 2 liters of water and start boiling that. But it's very important that you turn it upside down, because on these cans, the tops you can't open. The can was designed so it could store the yeast in it, so we'll need to have it upside down so all the extract gets off the part that we're opening. So just use regular hot tap water and just let it sit for 10 minutes, and when you open it up, it should run out fairly easily. So right now, I'm letting my water boil. The extract is sitting in the hot water. I'm just enjoying a little brewski. Now, before you get ahead of yourself and pour all of your boiling water into your fermenter, you want to make sure you leave enough. And actually, you may want to do this first. Is once you pour your extract into the fermenter, you want to pour some hot water into the can to get all the extra out, because you don't want to waste any of the extract. A little bit goes a long way. So, like I forgot to mention, you'll need a spoon to stir things with too. First thing I'm going to do is add in the brew enhancer. Looks like tar almost. It's so thick and dark. Now, I'm going to pour some water into the can, and then I'll pour it in there before I pour the rest of the hot water. I know you can't see this, but I'm just stirring in the extract in the can a little bit with the hot water in there. Okay, just pop that in there. Alright, well, that's mostly cleaned out. Good enough for me, I think. Of course, I made a little bit of a mess on that. Oh well. So we'll just stir this up real good. It's all clumped up at the bottom, I can feel it. May not have done this in the best way possible. It smells really good. It would be kind of nice to have a second person to mix this while I was fiddling with getting the extract dumped in. But it's not a big deal if you don't have another person do it. Trying to make sure I don't feel any rough stuff sitting at the bottom. Which times I as, it'll get better anyway. So I think I got nearly everything dissolved. So I'm going to fill this up to the 5-gallon mark. On my fermenter, I have a strip thermometer, so it'll tell me the temperatures inside once I start filling things up. Well, it'll tell me what the temperature is on the side of the bucket, I guess. So not perfect, but it should be close enough. So I'm going to bring us up to the 5-gallon mark. Right where I need to be. Okay, so I'll just give this a good stir. Let's look at the temperature here. It says it's at 19 degrees Celsius or 66 degrees Fahrenheit. And in our nifty instructions, it says we need to be somewhere between 18 and 32 degrees Celsius or 64 and 90. Which, the ideal range would be 21C to 27C or 70 to 80 degrees. So it's a little cool. I'm not too concerned with that. Things may warm up a bit. I probably shouldn't put this cold water in there. All the yeast that I've used in the past have been okay in the mid-60s, but that's alright. As long as you're within the 64 to 90 degree or 18 degrees Celsius to 32 degrees Celsius range, you're right, it's okay. Put the yeast in, it won't hurt it. Now make sure you sanitize your yeast packet. Oh, wait. I'm going to do something called taking a gravity reading. This will help me determine what the alcohol content of this is, which is good to know since I won't be going to the full 6 gallons. So I'm going to use a device called a hydrometer. So what I'll do is I'll take a reading now, and then when it's done fermenting, I'll take another reading, and I'll be able to put that through a formula to figure out the exact alcohol by volume. See, these are always really hard to read because I always have bubbles. This is in the .46 maybe, which has the potential of being at least 5%, so that's good enough. So I don't drip. I can just let this back in. I sanitize this whole thing. The hydrometer sanitized as well, so this is not a big deal. We'll say 1046. Okay. Sanitize my yeast packet. I'm going to take this guy out. I don't need him anymore. There's a lot of debate on whether to just sprinkle the yeast on or to stir it in. I just sprinkle it on and let it do its thing. The instructions don't say either way, so. Also with Cooper's yeast, if you smell it, it smells like applesauce. It means it's pretty good fresh. Unless you get some kid that has a different yeast, which I think a couple other kids actually use a larger yeast now. Alright, so that's on. Take my lid. Then I'll fill this airlock up off camera, but I'm going to just put some star sand in up to this line here, and then I'll let it be. So when it gets bottled, I might do a video. I probably won't do a video on the bottling. There's a lot of videos online how to do that. I might do it though. I don't know. Depends on how many people want to see it, I guess. I'll make up my mind when the time comes. But at least when we get to where it's done and I can drink it, I'll do a tasting online. So I'll make a tasting video. We'll probably make it part of a homebrew Wednesday. So cheers and happy home brewing.